All right. Okay, we'll call the law enforcement committee meeting to order. Call this meeting to order. Okay, you will bow your heads for prayer and I'll pray. Our most gracious and kind Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings in life. Father, we just ask that you go with Commissioner Brown and comfort him as he is trying to overcome his sickness, Father. Father, we just ask that you go with each and every one that has gone through tragedies and hard times. And Father, we just ask that you comfort them, bless them in a mighty way that can only come from you, Father. Father, we just ask that you be with our military, our first responders, people who are on the front lines defending this country and other countries around us, Father. We ask that you bless them, you give them a hedge of protection. And Father, most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus. In Christ's name I pray. Roll call, we have, heard Commissioner Brown is sick, Mayor's out, that's the rest of us, and we have a quorum. First item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes of July 20th, 21.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? First report will be animal control. And
I have nothing to add to the report. Are there any questions?
I do have a question. Based on the phone call that you gave me 3 or 4 weeks ago, how did that turn out? I don't want to know no details because I'll get sick.
With
But
the dog on the river?
yeah,
The dog had to be put down.
I'll spray that. So,
Any questions?
any questions for animal control? Hearing none, thank you. Next will be the sheriff, jail, workhouse, and drug task force report.
Well, I start out, first of all, y'all got a regular report, hope you have a question. Try to answer, I sort of got a mixed bag of tricks. I think last month there wasn't a quorum here, and we didn't actually do a report. So, that worked out kind of good for me because the guy, the sergeant that gets me the report on the workhouse, he's been out and I didn't get it. However, I've got last month's and I've got June's and part of July, so I'm going to give what I've got on that. And kind of the same thing on the courts. So I'll start out with the courts, and in July, past month, there were 934 that were on the docket. There was 1,345 that was actually there. In June, there was 1,273 that were on the docket, 2,104 that was actually in attendance. So obviously it has picked up. The drug task force report, I've got 33 reports, and it's your same. It's crystal meth, marijuana, crack cocaine, cocaine hydrochloride, 121 doses of prescribed medication, 19 firearms were taken, over $20,000 in illegal drug proceeds. 1 vehicle was seized. There are 50 defendants that are identified. 19 were previously convicted felons. 12 were out on supervised felony parole, and 2 fugitives of justice were apprehended. He knows we've had an increase in heroin, ecstasy, and LSD. LSD. As it's been for a long time, the drug of choice still seems to be meth. I would disagree with that somewhat. I don't think it's marijuana, but maybe it's talking about hard drugs. It would be meth. On the work crew, and this would be June, there were 12 workers that worked 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We base this on $10 an hour that they save either Bell Buckle, Shelbyville, or Bedford County in general. And in the month of June, they saved the taxpayers $19,200. In July, and this is only up to the 16th of July, so half a month, 14 workers, same thing, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at $10 per hour. And in just basically 2 weeks, they saved the taxpayers $11,200. Obviously, we're getting a little nervous, to say the least, with the COVID situation on the rise. And that's kind of what put us out of business last time. But as I speak, the work crews are still going out. So.
And Sheriff, I think, as a kid, you might recall, but I think the question came up whether or not we were testing for COVID, and at the time, we weren't sure, but Nakia did call me about 30 minutes later after you checked, and y'all are doing that.
Yeah,
Am I saying that?
basically they came,
Yeah.
I think the day before, I was asked that question here.
Yeah.
Or the day before that. And basically what they're doing is if there's any interest, they're giving the vaccine.
Yeah.
They come back after 30 days, give the second dose, and then anybody at that time that wants the first dose, so they just keep the process.
And that's still continuing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if everybody knew that or not, but that is.
Good.
It's good that they're offering. Is that all you have, Sheriff?
Yeah.
Okay. There has been concern about the recent incident over last weekend, and I'm sure all of you are very familiar with what I'm talking about and why some alert messages did not go out. Had discussion with David, our EMA director, Sheriff, myself, Nakia. I think that was all that was in there, and we went over all this, and the sheriff department, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nakia, they, given the sensitivity of this case, they turned it over to TBI. When TBI takes this over, it is theirs. They control every aspect of it. And we do have the capability of sending out messages. And Philip is in charge of that. And it's left up to that department, and correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but it's left up to the department head as to how that transpires and if the criteria through the federal government is met for that to happen. And I don't know, we gotta be careful because this is an ongoing investigation. It is not closed yet. So we have to be very careful as to what we say and how we approach this. And, so, go ahead, Lane.
And while the sheriff's there, Mr. Chairman, all I want to make sure is that we do have a protocol in place. And I'd like that protocol shared with the committee maybe next month if we could, just so I can answer some questions that have been asked of me. But that's the main thing is, I think we have a right to alert our citizens and communicate as much as we possibly can. So that's all I'm asking is I want to make sure we've got a protocol. And if you would, because I know you know, share the Smart 911 and the IPWS, what that is and what it could do. And so before I quit talking, I just really would like, I don't care if it's a motion or y'all tell me it's gonna happen, but next month for a report to be given back on the protocol.
has changed too, from the standpoint that we do have to be careful on the alert, I get all that. However, if we could somehow alert without getting some super details, this Facebook thing, even if you know me, no, I do not do Facebook, I don't look at Facebook. But these nuts do, and they're Facebooking the stuff everywhere, and that can cause a panic, I don't know how we control it, but if somehow we had a basic message, it would be nice if we can alert you to storms and stuff on something like this without giving it too much and let the public know if there's something can be done, if there's not, there's not.
What we can do, if it's a tornado, fire, or a school incident, or whatever, yes, we can notify people in certain areas or the whole county, correct? What we didn't, and Sheriff, you may be better talking about this than I would, but if I'm running from the law and I'm in your area, I get that same message. It doesn't, it's not specific to certain people. It's anybody in a perimeter. So,
I would assume the person running from the law knows they're running from the law.
exactly. So
So you
I
already
get
know
that
this, right?
message, but I get that message and I know about the system. So what have we done? We've alerted them.
Probably, the person probably already knows they're looking for it, at the point though. I mean, the person probably pretty sure you're out looking for it.
Mark, I'd like
I'm
to add
shocked.
to what Mark says, though.
It can be detrimental
It
either way.
could
I
be,
see.
but it also alerts that person who maybe is on the run, that
Everybody's
as my people said, their doors are locked and their guns are loaded.
Yeah.
That the community is aware of them, so perhaps that would stop them from coming up and knocking on the door. I mean, my answer is leave the car keys in the car, so they can go wherever they want to and lock your
We
doors.
used to do that, you know?
Hold your gun.
I say lock and load.
Mr. Ferguson.
Like you said, in the event of a natural disaster, yes, it can be sent out. Based on experience, sending out information in this type of investigation does more to create panics when you don't know what you have, you don't know what you're working with, and all you're doing is feeding the rumor mill. The first, everybody's seen the show, first 48 hours so important. No, the first 5 minutes, the next 5 minutes. Sending out information creates more panic. You will wind up spending days going through tips that people call in of all the ghosts they've seen in the tree line, in the trash can, hiding in a dumpster. We've had them on roofs. So the alert is a great thing. It truly is. But it is also very detrimental to an investigation, especially an investigation like this where you're multi-jurisdictional. You've got multiple agencies trying to cipher out something in a very short period of time. And it just, a lot of times, like I say, it is detrimental, especially in the early going to an investigation. It does more to harm than hurt. You've got a basic set of facts, and now you've got everybody that's ever seen NCIS or CSI calling in because they know they've seen that episode, and now they've got tips. You have to trace, you have to track down, verify or disprove every single tip that comes in. No matter how ridiculous it sounds, you are obligated as an investigator to track it down. More manpower, more time, more manpower. So basically you're putting time and distance between you and the person or persons that you're looking for. So it is a great thing. The alert system is a great thing, but there are times when it's very detrimental.
Nikhil, you shared like a,
Well, I would like to just say we're all for sending out alerts if we think that people are in some kind of belief. We have to, we have in the past. However, just based on what we had then, I'll say, we felt like it could cause more of a problem and more of a risk than what it would help. But I don't want anybody to think that we would not send out a message if we thought that there was any kind of immediate danger to people. So I do want to put that out there. And Brian's exactly right. Each case is different. The information is different, and and whether or not we decide to use that alert system can change in 5 minutes. It just depends on the information we have at the time. And I promise you that in any
any kind of investigation like that, you get one shot at it. You try to be perfect, but every decision that we make, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. That's not to say that we're gonna be perfect, but, we are gonna put a lot of thought into it. As to the good versus the harm that we're gonna do, so.
I would say, I think I would speak for everybody that was in that area. If I thought when we left there that that part of the county or any part of the county was in immediate danger or more danger than normal, even though we're not the lead investigative agency, and that's a good thing because this is spread out over about 3 counties, and it's good to have somebody that, that's the lead investigative agency that's got jurisdiction in all of them, and for other obvious reasons. But with that being said, and I'm sure Nakia and Brian and anybody else would be all for sending that out. But I can honestly say, when we left there, I didn't think there was anybody around any more than it would be the other 364 days of the year that was going to do harm to anybody in that area, because I just don't think anybody was around at that time. We did what we needed to do out there. I feel like we did it very well, and obviously we did. But we're just human, we're humans in a law enforcement uniform, and sometimes we don't do it exactly right, but we don't forget who we work for, and we don't forget who we're protecting, and I just wanted to say that. And Linda, what you're asking for, I'm not, don't throw Phil off. But he has pretty much, I think, the protocols that go into place, but it's a little bit easier, like somebody was saying, on a flood and maybe even a fire or something like that, than it is when you're dealing with human beings. That can change they can change pretty rapidly. And it's still, even though going through all these protocols that Phil was talking about, it's still going to come down to us to make that call. Am I right, Phil? And you can explain it a lot better.
Yeah, sure, you're right. There are protocols at a certain point in the process. The point in which a decision is made would be discussed on whether this is something that should be sent out. That ultimately, not just here, any jurisdiction that uses this system, it's made by the people who are in charge of that incident. And that could be different people depending on the incident. If it's a train that's derailed out in Moortrace, it's full of chemicals, that's probably going to fall with Director Kitchens. If it's a major fire somewhere that's creating a hazard, that may be something where, Mark or Chief Dope would take the lead depending on where that's at. So once it's decided, once we know what the incident type is and who is taking the lead in that incident, and we decide whether or not, it's a situation that deems an alert be sent out, then there are definitely a defined set of protocols that are in place, because this is ultimately a federal platform. This comes down through FEMA, and so to get qualified to be able to use this system, there are a set of protocols that you follow that it has to meet before they'll even let the message go out. It goes through, once we put it in, it goes through filters, and a lot of you guys might remember, it's been several years ago now, but they did a test message that said there was a nuclear strike going to happen in Hawaii. Everybody in Hawaii thought they had 4 minutes to live, wherever it was going. They put a lot of filters in place and added some protocols to there. So there is certainly a defined set of protocols of what you have to do to actually launch a message. It's not, and there's only just a couple of people in the county that they'll even certify and allow to have the launch codes to let those messages out, because it's such a sensitive platform.
I understand everything here. However, I also understand this other thing. So a lot of people don't take the local news anymore, and they do the Hulu and whatever that stuff is, or they watch on the internet, whatever it is. My wife does it, I still get the TV, but she's always big on that. But a lot of folks don't get your local news. They don't. Okay, once that alert went to the local news, and it's out there on channel 2, 4, and 5, could we not send the alert on the phone at that point, now the media knew about it? And that never happened. I'm just saying, once it went to the TV stations, would that be something we might could do once it's already out there to do it? Or is that not an option?
Sure, I mean, it's an option to send an alert whenever it's deemed appropriate. We've got
A lot of people don't watch the 2, 4, 5s, and 17s
We've
anymore,
got
they're
the
in
ability-
streaming or whatever.
Yeah, we've got the capability to send one, I could, we needed to, we can send one in the next 2 minutes, if we needed to do that.
I get it. I get all of it. Let me ask you this, though. Could there be a soft, unofficial phone call made? Because I was getting phone calls off of people seeing whatever was on Facebook. And all it would take, and our bunch has got it together. I promise you, if whomever was called, the sheriff's officer or you or whatever, in 15 minutes, our phone calls would have gone out and that whole area would have been covered. 15 minutes, it was already done. And, but a lot of it was the wrong information. So if we're hesitant as a department to do something, could we make a soft call, or a notification? It doesn't have to be the commissioner, but somebody to spread the factual, much as we know, that's what'll go out.
Are you, make sure I understand what you're saying. A call to a defined group of people that could then disseminate information, like you as a
If the
commissioner.
sheriff
to
had called me, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have by any means, but if he had called me, I would have called 4 people, that have a list of people, and it would have been done in 15 minutes.
Right.
And when I say a list of people, we've got it worked so that everybody's got a road. We take care of that.
Like a phone tree church.
But it would have been correct information.
Right.
Other than some of the stuff I was getting calls on, and I'm going, whoa. So I guess, Philip, think about that, and if you would, just think about everything we've had, and maybe next meeting, if you just talk a little bit more.
Sure.
So that's all I'm
And
asking.
keep in mind too, on the IPOS system platform, there really are some logistical challenges of that, because it was initially, that platform was designed mainly for Amber Alerts. That's what, everybody's got an Amber Alert on their phone before, and that's, you got those before you got everything else, and then it evolved into, a platform to be able to be used for other purposes, for other emergency purposes outside of just a missing person. But one thing that didn't evolve with it is the number of characters that they let us use. We're still, everybody that's certified to use iPaws, we have 90 characters to use, which is, first off, you can't form two coherent sentences with. If you remember back in the winter, we sent out several during the ice storm. I think we sent out 3, maybe 3 or 4. When we had all the ice going, and it's pretty challenging to convey useful information in 90 characters. It's just, I wish they would really up that, but that's just another facet of the platform that that most people just don't know that it's the limits of its capabilities are still pretty stringent.
Thank you.
Sure. Next be EMA report.
We don't have anything else to add than what's on the, Michelle, any questions?
Hannah handed out the report and it was sent out by email, let's show.
I got it at home.
Okay, yeah, I got mine.
Do you have a new boss yet?
Yeah,
I mean,
Mr.
really,
Kitchen.
is he for real? So
He's for
okay
real.
at football?
He hit the ground running the day he taught his first class,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
he's probably tired of talking.
I'll say something. For the people that haven't met me, I'm David Kitchens. I started yesterday. I asked Tammy to step up there. I said, everything, she happened right before I got here. So if I have any questions, you probably need to be there. So, yeah, I will be standing in front of you, in the future. But yeah, I started yesterday. I came from Tima, if you don't know my background. And I retired from the police department in Nashville, 26 years there. Spent some time in special ops there. So that's sort of my background. I'm glad to be here, and ready to roll.
So the days of the transition, you know, a lot of people are.
Yeah, and it is, I had this county as a district coordinator. So I worked with all of them, Philip, Mark, everyone, on a lot of things that's going on. I've done this horse show 3 years in a row, and this year I'll be kind of in charge of that. So, I know how that runs, so, I'm ready to get started. Glad to be here. Glad to be working with some wonderful people. Moved here in Bedford County about a little over a year and a half ago, and we absolutely love it.
And if it helps my guys any, they say you're a great teacher. I love you and said.
Oh, yeah.
So,
They love him too.
Yeah.
I also did some training, for the fire department, police department. We actually did a class today.
Yeah, and then the
Something
past
I already had planned to do in the county, and they said, are you still gonna do it? I said, yes. Me and Josh, on an 8-hour class today, and 14 over
and ask Matt, and so, yeah, he carries a lot of credentials, and he's good asset to have.
For our law enforcement, so we make it a whole.
Thank you.
Okay, next, no questions for EMA.
None.
We'll have, go to juvenile.
I also do not have anything additionally to add on my report, unless you guys have a question.
Stand pretty cool.
Very,
I think you are.
very.
What is, y'all's COVID protocol? I mean,
We're not fully back in like we were 6 months ago or so, but we take temperatures twice a day, we take temperatures on arrival. We try to keep them by themselves for a couple of days, to make sure they're not feeling ill in any way when they first come in, and then they can be with other children, if we can do that, if space allows.
any questions for juvenile?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Probation.
I have no new news to report, but if y'all have any questions for me.
I like that vest you wear.
Thank you, I like your shirt.
Won't be long, will
At least it's not on.
it? Top blue all the way, won't it?
All the way.
All the way. It'll be a good year.
Any questions for probation? You have this
I
report? Thank you. We need a motion to approve. the report.
Motion is approved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any old business? Any new business to come before the meeting? This is the first time seeing it.
Okay.
Um,
Kitchens.
Back up to EMA just a little bit. Did you end this out or?
This was last, I think. it was
Last-
This is from the last month.
Oh, last month.
That's last
Okay.
month. We didn't have any.
Here.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it got put in last
Okay,
Okay,
so I didn't know if we.
So it's kind of talking about, this thing, it's
Right.
talking about the drone and the capabilities of it, and I have seen that, and I think that's gonna be a big asset to everybody, so,
It's a nice article
yeah.
and good news.
Announcements, and I don't have the dates, but the celebration this year, you know, has the Veterans Night. I don't have that date, but if you're a veteran, you know, you get tickets to get in, and I don't know what all it, but they'll recognize all the services, but this year, they're gonna recognize first responders as well, fire, police, EMS, sheriff, police, everybody that's a first responder, so I'd encourage you to attend that night. And I'll get those dates to you. Any other business to come before the committee?
Commissioner Farrar wanted to remind everyone that the Tennessee County Commissioners Association Regional Meeting is September 7th at Henry Horton State Park. Registration opens at 5:30 and the meeting begins at 6.
And that is still on schedule. That's it right now. Mask required. Okay. Yeah, I think that's. All right, need a motion to